Assalamu alaikum. Alright, so today I wanted to give you all a little update about something, right? So, a few weeks back, I talked about how I'm starting to cultivate this level of love within my heart so that I can allow myself to be more forgiving, right? And because there was a great deal of hate within my heart. Like my mind was good, I could do what I needed to do, my homework, my work, things like that. Productivity wise, fine. My body, best shape I've ever been in my life. Uh, you know, all of it. The issue was my spirit, my soul. There is still, and I know a lot of you might not believe in all of that, but I'm starting to now, and I'll tell you what, it was just full filled with a lot of hatred for people that I had in the past, people that I might have resented, people that I thought were like never considered me good enough or things like that, right? And so I wanted to give you a little update like on what's changed so far. And one of the biggest things I'm realizing, right? One of the biggest things I'll point out is your music changes. Okay, I'd like to think that, and here's why. Okay, I'd like to think that a music is a big part of a lot of our lives, right? And a lot of us love listening to music, and so there's certain music that's associated with certain, I guess you could say, moods or energies, right? And what that does is enable you to think within that mindset. So if you play a particular kind of category, then your mind will start thinking kind of like the lyrics of that song or the tune or the melody, whatever it's in, right? So that's the biggest difference I've started realizing with myself when it comes to trying to cultivate this level of love, trying to pray more to Allah and things of that nature. Is like my taste in music changes, right? Now, for some of you, probably consider that completely and utterly haram. Yes, um, that's probably the case. And I wouldn't, again, I've never argued to be the most religious person. I'm getting into it. I'm trying to see what's up, right? But let me be a lot more specific, right? What has changed specifically? I barely, if at all, listen to rap. Okay, barely, if at all. Like I haven't touched that playlist in days, or not even days. Like, well, who am I kidding? I haven't touched that playlist in months. In months, I barely listen. There's like a select few songs I'll listen to because of the speed and how good they sound, and like me wanting to be able to rap to them and stuff like that. But besides that, some of the songs I won't listen to. Why? Because their lyrics are genuinely just disgusting. Like every time I listen to them, I get a gut wrenching feeling in my heart. I'm just like, why am I listening to this? This is the most degenerate shit I think I've ever heard. Right? So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, what is there to then listen to? And I'm just starting to listen to more like jazz, I guess. Starting to listen to things that would calm me down, that I could just play in the background. Things like lo-fi, jazz. What else? Afro beats. I've been listening to a lot more Afro beats lately. I have a friend that's been giving me a lot more Afro beats, so I'll listen to that. And my cultural music, Desi music, right? I love being a part of my culture more than ever, so I like listening to those kinds of songs as well. So that's one big change I've realized about myself, because every time I listen to that playlist, I'm sure we all have it, right? We all have that one playlist that we try not to touch because it's like forbidden. It's like if we touch that, like our mind is going in a certain direction. We do not want it to go in that direction. Maybe some of you do, maybe some of you don't, but that's definitely the biggest change I've realized. One other change I've realized is that I tend to have less negative thoughts about people, and I mean, it would make sense, right? Anybody that I used to, I would say, hey, if I had my previous mindset, right? Anybody that does something to me, like wrongs me in some sort of way, my previous mindset would have been like, oh, screw this person, like, or thought of like very, very violent scenarios in which way I might like overpower them in some sense, right? But now it just looks at it as more of like a in more of a forgiving way. Like, look, we're all human. It happens. Move on. We keep pushing. That's literally how I've started looking at things now, and it's so much better. I feel so much better for that. And that's something I feel like no one's ever really told me. They all talk about, oh, fix your diet, go to the gym, you know, work on getting good sleep, do your work, all that. But like the spirit portion of it is always left out. The spiritual aspect is always left out. And people say, well, that's, like people will literally scoff and laugh at you. I remember this happened freshman year, bro. It pissed me off so much. Someone looked at me weird for saying like hate is like a level of poison in your heart, things like that. Like, I know that sounds like a really corny Instagram quote or something like that, but I'm telling you that this is very much real. This is very, very real. You'll start to think that way. And music has a huge, huge influence on that, which is why I think my music is completely and utterly changing. Barely ever listen to rap anymore, right? So I think that plays a big role into it. And again, that was the first thing that changed music. Second thing was the way in which I think about people and the people that I think have wronged me. I will say, however, this, right? Although you learn to be able to cultivate a level of love in your heart for certain people, even to the point where you might cultivate a level of love in your heart for people that you don't necessarily like, right? And you do that through understanding their position and why they might not like you or something like that or things like that, and you're okay with that, you're at peace with that. But it's also realizing that you can't be naive. Just because you are loving and forgiving does not mean that you just, forgive. Like, of course you can forgive someone, but it doesn't mean being naive and going right back into that situation again. Right? It's like, oh, I forgave you. Oh, guess it didn't happen, bro. Like, come right back. No. Take a step back. Distance yourself from that. You don't need to be around that. Whether it's drama, I don't care who it is, what they are, it doesn't matter. Distance yourself away from that. Right? Because their actions, they might be saying one thing, but their actions are saying another thing. Right? And so they're manipulating you, and you might forgive them for that, and that's fine, so that you can get over it and you can push past it and you can keep moving. But that does not mean be naive to it. That does not mean, oh, okay, guess you're forgiven, like come right back. No. It's like, cool, you've chosen to do that, and I understand that humans make mistakes. I forgive you. And I pray that God, does the same for you. And you pray that you hope that God can put it in your heart to forgive them. And then you keep in mind, okay, this is what they did, and you might distance yourself from them. And I think that's positive. I think that's completely and utterly fine. Don't be naive to it. Because, again, you do not control this person. Let their actions prove that they won't do this again. Do not allow their words to deceive you or anything like that. If they really care to be, a part of your life, let's just say. Forgive, and then, be a little cognizant. Be like, okay, this could happen again. So maybe put yourself a little bit further away from that situation. And let me just make this very, very clear. Just because you're part of a religious group, okay, does not mean that the people of that religion won't do the same. I've made that mistake several times, okay? This is primarily why I hated my religion, because I thought that my religion was like the people were what kind of made that religion. And in some sense they are, but it was more so that the people were calling other people out, but then also being hypocrites themselves. That's what pissed me off the most, Okay, and so associated that with the religions, but then I remembered all the stories that I've been told when I was younger about the prophet, and I was like, wait, I'm just ignorant to the fact that, all these good things happen within this book, all these good lessons, and I'm using the people as a way to not follow the religion. The religion is separate from uh the religion is separate from the people that follow it, okay? You need to be able to make that distinction, okay? And I know I digressed a little bit there, but that then goes into this idea of, just because they're religious does not mean that they cannot make mistakes and that you shouldn't distance yourself from them. And I'm pulling this extreme example. Why? Is because, like, okay, it's easier to, I'd say, forgive someone and then distance yourself, right? If they might not be of your religion and things like that, or not of your culture, not of your race, it's like easier to distance yourself. You're just like, okay, I'm just not going to be a part of that anymore. But it's harder to do that when they're like heavily associated with you and like heavily religiously associated, specifically religion, because culture, it's like, okay, uh, you know religion has the highest amount of like values, I guess. Propose like How would I say this? I can't think of the words right now, but people don't necessarily stick to their like cultural values. They usually go down to their religious values. Religious values are the ones that are, I would say, like more tight, more strict, things like that. And I'm saying, just because people are religious does not mean that um, you aren't susceptible to their tyranny again. I see this happening constantly within you know communities, within religious communities, all the time, right? Now, this doesn't mean that the religion is bad or anything like that. It's like, we're all people. We all make mistakes, things of that nature. And I know this video is going into a little bit of a different topic, but I guess I just want to continue into it by saying that, look, again, people that are of the book are also susceptible to manipulating you and, forming some sort of tyrannical relationship or things of that nature. So you have to also be careful of that. You can forgive them for that, but you should also create distance. Again, I'll keep saying it over and over again. Just because they're religious does not mean, you're just like, oh, forgiven, though they're people of the book. It's like, no, okay, just be careful, okay? Because everybody's religious to a different degree, and sometimes people are religious only when it's convenient, things like that. So, and I mean, that's just how it is as humans. And I mean, I've done this before too, so I can't act like I'm some saint, right? But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Like, just be careful, and um, I think overall cultivating this degree of love within your heart instead of hate has definitely been a lot more positive. I also see myself smiling a lot more. I'm also down way less. And I think that's, a natural consequence. I'm not thinking about um all the times, and I'm not thinking about scenarios in which I pity myself, or I'm not thinking about all these people that might have made me feel bad at some point or something like that. I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm just thinking about, look, they're people. It happened in the past. People can change, right? I stay hopeful of that. And if they haven't, well, I'll just distance myself. It's really just that simple at the end of the day. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got, and I think this is really helping. I'm probably gonna keep updating y'all on this more and more, because I feel like this is a topic that people don't really talk about as often. So yeah, I'll definitely keep y'all posted on how this mind frame is working out for me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you. Peace. Take it easy.